Welcome to the Kim LaRue Show.
I was compelled to have Siekiem-Kontom come on the show.
Thank you.
Because, wow, finally it's manifested.
Yes.
Finally, wow, what, about a year and a half, I think we were talking about doing this, maybe?
Longer than that.
Longer, I think so.
2016. Early 2016.
Wow, okay, well here we are. I love it, manifestation. You
Yes.
see, this is how it happens. But I was compelled to have you on the show because you were a positive, African American black man, figure or image, for lack of a better word. I'll use those words right now. We'll talk a little bit about that. But we know that there's an epidemic of negative images of black men in America. And now that social media is upon us, it has increased tremendously, so it's important that we have, positive, black men, not only in media, but definitely social media, because social media, these millennials, is into social media. So we have to, fight, the negative stuff, so I'm saying all that to say, this is why I have this forum.
Yes.
I think it's my responsibility. If I have a forum like this, I need to utilize it for greatness. So with all that being said, thank you,
You are most welcome.
Thank you. You are quite controversial.
That is a compliment.
Okay. I was gonna say, do you agree? But I guess you do. But what I'm gonna ask you? You were raised in New York City?
Born and raised in Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Oh, okay. Brooklyn in the house. He's funny.
It's going to come out very soon.
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, where do I start? Well, first of all, I want to say, what made you want to be a voice in the community? I'll start with that. What made you want to be a voice in the community?
What made me want to, I don't think it was something that I wanted to be. I think it's something that was just inside of me. Okay. It's not something that I looked forward to do. Mm-hmm. It's just something that is innate in some of us, and we have to tap into it. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, me personally, I didn't have those voices around me that were vocal addressing the ills of our community. We just had individuals that complained about what was going on in the community, but they never had the solutions. Mm-hmm. They never had, the objective of what are we going to do to fight the ills that are going on. It was just that peanut gallery, as we say, that point at things that take place and never add on.
Right.
So I was always vocal. I was always that person that was addressing things. And I just came to a degree when you use your voice, the power in your voice, to affect change. If you know that somebody's listening to you for whatever reason, once you know that you have their ear, start speaking something that is about life.
Right.
And use that power. So that was, my segue into speaking about things that were of dire concern for my immediate circle, my family, and my community, my people.
Right. So that was always in you.
It was always in me.
Okay.
Growing up as a kid, whatever was trivial, we would always have our spin on it, or what was our take on it. Right. But then when you become older and you start to mature, you really start to see how it affects your immediate reality. Right. And then you have to question yourself, are we just going to sit around in this circle and complain about it, or are we actually going to do something about it? And I knew at a very young age it didn't take this superpower or this mystery, to come into our community and save us. We had the power to save ourselves. But many of us, we thought we were at our ceiling. We thought we couldn't do anything. We were conditioned to think that assistance came from somewhere else. Right. But I was blessed to grow up in a household where you know, that ingenuity was always inside of us. That you want to change something, stop complaining about it, do it. And
Absolutely.
I led with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you said that you was born and raised in Brooklyn?
Born and raised in Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Wow.
Yes.
And you made it this far?
Yes.
Yeah, it must have been rough. I mean, Brooklyn, well, I'm from the Bronx, and Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, like, we didn't play, we know people from the Bronx, we wasn't going to Bed-Stuy. Like, my friends, oh, let's go to Brooklyn. What? Bronx people, we didn't mess with Brooklyn. Damn sure didn't mess with Bed-Stuy. So, I knew a lot of people from Bed-Stuy, and they not here. Like, a lot. Well, how do you get here? How did you make it through?
Excuse me.
To a die Bed-Stuy.
How did I get here?
I mean, okay, well, let me put it this way. I know that you're a black man from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, you know, especially during that crack era. We seem like to be around it was so much death and gain. And I'm saying, you here, you could really consider it a miracle.
True indeed.
You know?
How did I
make it through? It had to be.
We could be as candid as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point where I stopped being stupid.
Okay. You stopped being stupid.
When I stopped being stupid, and you know, we can embellish upon that later on during this, but it gets to the point where you start seeing your immediate surroundings, and you start seeing your close friends not pass but get killed.
Yeah.
So you really understand that life is like that, especially in the climate that I grew up in. It was like a flip of a coin. You could walk outside and get shot.
Just like that.
You know, that was the norm. And being that that was our norm, subconsciously we conditioned ourselves to that. Like I remember, you know, talking to my mother. Like I never thought that I would be at this age. Like I used to look in the mirror, and many young men that grew up like I did, in the surroundings that I did, in the era that I did, you know, I used to look in the mirror and said, okay, I could see myself at 17 or 18 years old, but I never envisioned myself looking at myself at 25 years old.
Right.
I didn't think that far.
Right.
The crazy thing about it, I didn't care to think that far, so I lived in that moment.
Right.
I said, if I walk out the door and get shot today, I know yesterday was crazy.
You know, I think it might have been the times we grew up, because, you know, funny enough, that was my thinking also. You know, I grew up in the project, same kind of story here, and I made it through, but at the time I knew that at any moment I could get killed or shot. I know it's a lot going on in the world right now, but these young kids don't have a clue. I think during our time, there were a lot of people, that crack era, not even just the crack era, young stars was dying, Aaliyah, Left Eye, Biggie, Tupac, like they were dropping dead. This generation don't understand that, and I remember that mindset. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a female.
It was I can't speak from the female perspective, but I know as a male that grew up with two sisters, it was a total different dynamic. For me, looking at that, I always felt that my sisters had it good.
Okay.
You know, because the gangsters in the neighborhood like the females. So depending on how the females look, they were safe.
Okay.
So that was my perspective of it.
Right.
So
what you know is that.
Yeah, well, it was a different dynamic being a female in that situation, because depending on the attitude of that particular gangster, you were expendable.
Right.
Because of everything that was going on. But being a young kid growing up under that, my upbringing or uprooting in that era was I had to be a certain way to survive, because I was the only male in that household. So my mother raised me a particular way that necessarily my friends didn't grow up like. Like my friends couldn't get away with a lot of things that I got away with because of the way that I was raised. Like, there was no tolerance when it came to me and my household. Like if you knocked on my door knowing that I lived with my mother and my two sisters, I had to open the door, regardless who was there, because my mother made it pertinent that whoever opens that door see a male face at that door before he sees anybody. So he knows automatically that it's not going to be easy. Regardless if he thought I was just a kid, I knew, and I knew I had to make it sure to him that he knew that there was going to be a problem. So growing up with that, knowing I got to be the protector of my mother and my two sisters, that gave me not only a pass for certain things, but that gave me that edge to be a certain way.
Right, and I wow, just even the thought. So you were a man before you were.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely understand. I can definitely relate to that. But you know, when you were saying something about gangs, you kind of knew what you was talking about when it came to the gangs. Were you part of gangs? Were you
never?
No. Okay.
Well, we got to look at it like this: like when we grew up. In the late 70s, 80s, did gangs exist in New York City? Yes, they did exist. The closest thing that I knew to a gang were the group of people that we hung out with.
Okay.
And the strongest embodiment of a gang that I was around was, and it's not a gang, so let me be very clear on that, it's the Nation of Guards and Earps.
Okay.
That was
Nation of Guards. Oh, 5%ers?
5%ers.
5%ers, all right. I'm very familiar about what
they were the foundation, basically, of my upbringing. That was my nucleus. Everybody that I grew up around was guard body. Everybody that I grew up with were Earps. So they had that mentality, but the contrast of that mentality was everything that was going on around us.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So you made it through. You had the 5% of spirituality.
Yes,
you know, strong mother in the household.
Yes.
Sisters.
Yes.
Okay, that's important. Family is always all right. So you survived, do or die best time.
Yes.
And then you went into the New York City Correction Department.
Yes. But
what was you thinking?
there was an extreme gap in between those two, points. But I say this jokingly, and I say this amongst my friends. It was that era where you come out of school and you take a test. But the reason that I became a correction officer, or just an officer per se, was to basically fight the system that I knew was against us. Like, like being, from Brooklyn or Bedford-Stuyvesant or from any urban community, there's always that dilemma between African-American males and the police. And I am one that has been harassed by police, been accosted by police, been threatened by police, and like I said, I always had that mouth. And my blessing is that I grew up in a house of books. So when I was approached by, police officers, I didn't give them that random response. I always went verbatim with them. So I knew that the majority of the officers at that time didn't have wit. They weren't sharp.
Right.
So if you accosted me and you asked me a question, I was quick with the response. So it's like, once I feel your energy, I said, well, automatically you don't just have the regular knucklehead on your hands. He's gonna, so I knew that, okay, listen, we out here in these streets, like this is not gonna last for long. We can't do this forever.
Right.
So what is gonna stop me from getting harassed by them?
Okay.
And I knew early that they respected their order.
Right.
So let me take the test. Knock on wood, all of the things that I've been through. Right. I've never been arrested.
Okay.
I never had a criminal record. So with that on my table, I said, I can get into this. I can learn the intricacies of the laws that are used against us.
Right.
So now I can take this information, and I'm still in my hood. So now when we're standing around or just hanging around, police officers decide they want to jump out their car on us. Well, what are y'all doing out here? Oh, you're an officer.
Right.
My bad. Y'all fellas have a good day. But I wouldn't leave it at that. I was like, well, no. Since you jumped out of the car, what were your intentions? What did you plan to do before you knew that I had a shit? Talk to me. What were you going to do?
Right.
Ah, man, get out of here. So I knew, like before, in foresight, I knew if I did that, it wouldn't just be a benefit for myself, because I knew while I was taking the test, I'm saving myself.
Right.
Because
right.
I've been in situations that we're going to get to that I knew that if I stayed in that world, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
So I know that joining the Department of Corrections or just getting an inside view of what goes on, I can be an asset to my community, an asset to many of my friends.
Right, right, absolutely. But that's just a whole nother something. You mentioned your mother. I want to talk about your mother real quick, if you don't mind.
Indeed, indeed.
My condolences. I know your mom passed away maybe a couple of years ago.
Yes, 2016.
2016. I remember you always post about your mother when she was alive.
Yes.
You used to talk about your mother,
my
and
mother
you was going to visit her. You would share that on social media.
2017.
2017. Okay, right.
She
2000.
tapped me.
Get it right. And when she was alive, you used to share,
Yes.
and then when she was, getting ill,
Transition,
you were sharing that. And I remember saying, wow, that was very powerful, and that took a lot of courage. I mean, to share that with everyone, especially being a black man. I need to share that. That's it, because you really don't see black men sharing. Let me be real clear. I've seen it. I grew up with 3 brothers and my dad. I was raised with men in my home, and also a healthy balance of females in my home. So I get to see it. I have, but so many people in my circle don't get to see those kind of images of black men or portrayals of black men in the sense of sharing, grieving, emotions, that kind of stuff, because it's portrayed as being weak. Right. Indeed. All that. So, but I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with some of the strongest men in my house, and I see them cry like babies. So I have a different view on it, but you shared that with us, with the world. You were open enough, to receive the comfort that you needed at the time. Your mom, you wrote your book, and if I'm not mistaken, your mom had passed by the time you wrote your book.
The book was written already. She had passed by the time the book was published.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So she knew you were writing a book.
Oh yeah. It's a story, because
okay.
Like my mom's was my heart, is my heart, and my mother used to always be on me, and I picked up the knack from writing from my mother. Like, she would write journals, journals of everything, and she actually went to school and studied philosophy at Long Island University.
Okay.
And
it makes sense.
That's the type of mother that I had. Like, you always had that who, what, when, where, why. And you always had the answer. Not with just the why. Well, why do you think that way? Well, why do you feel this way? So, in contrast, what you're saying about the emotions, my mother was very real with me, and very hard on me at the same sense, because I had to be cognizant of not just myself, but everybody else emotions around me. I had to learn how to manufacture those emotions and know how to be protective and sensitive to my sisters. I had to know how to be protective and respectful of my mother. I had to be different dynamics for different people, but still be myself. So I dealt with death at a young age, like a lot of my family members passed, my grandmother and my grandfather, and being that only male in the family that people depended on, that weighed on me. So emotions ran deep in me. But growing up, it was hard because I was raised not to cry.
Right.
So
which most black
because
men are.
Most
young black boys.
She would be like, don't cry, not because it's a sense of weakness for myself, but that's the gateway for people to take advantage of it.
This shows weakness.
Especially an outside person. But I was always like, if something happened to me, I was always compassionate to my family members.
Okay.
To a fault. Now with that understanding, that I would go beyond because of that emotional, foundation that I have. And being a black male, it is imperative to be emotional, especially being a father. Like, I do not want to be the father to my son as the kid that I was.
Right.
Because if he's going through something, I can't say, man, buck up. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You have to understand the psychological, dynamics he may be going through. Because a child looks at his father like, I don't want to cry in front of my father. And I felt that way engaging my father. Like, I had to be like, we got this.
Right.
We got this.
Yeah.
My mother don't mean nothing, And it wasn't nothing that she said to me, like, because she didn't raise me like that. She just raised me to be in tune with people's energy and emotions, and hold deep to your emotions, but be true to them. If you hurting, say that you're hurting. Don't walk around and be something that you're not, just for the sake of someone else. And what you young ladies think is appealing or appeasing to a young man, that fades instantly after intercourse.
Welcome to the Kim Lou Show.